Today, the finals of the Capcom Cup will be pay-per-view, which is silly. No one pays for video on the internet, right? This CheckPoint. Welcome to CheckPoint.
Yes, but why?
Because all things are illusions based on perception.
Correct. Would you like to move to the $400 question or stay there?
I better not risk it.
It's Sonic's 30th anniversary, and what warmer way to celebrate than in clothes? And also shoes. It's all through a collaboration with PUMA. You know PUMA. They made this shirt in a previous collaboration with Animal Crossing. I guess the relationship is over, what with Animal Crossing partnering with alternative animal-themed shoe company Crocs. So that left PUMA some room to collab with animals that, actually wear shoes. This comes at a great time since it launches October 30th, just in time for back to school. If your kids are changing schools in November because they were mercilessly made fun of by the other kids for not having brand new pants or fresh-looking cross trainers the moment they stepped out of the house on... when was the first day of school again? September 1st? Nobody cares and doesn't fucking matter. Hopefully your kids will end up decked out in Sonic gear at a school that hasn't chosen a side in the ongoing console war, so they can at least find some friends among the Sega Genesis survivors camp. It might make them an easy target for anyone on the Super Nintendo side, since they'll be resplendent in their blue Sonic hoodies and bright yellow tail sneakers. But don't worry, the kids on the Nintendo team have to deal with wearing whatever the fuck this thinks it is.
A partnership between Silver Lake, Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, and Affinity Partners has announced plans to acquire Electronic Arts for $55 billion US in a leveraged buyout that will leave EA $20 billion in debt. This news has left journalists Googling what is a leveraged buyout, gamers wondering how is this legal, and workers trying to remember their LinkedIn password. With the understanding that this deal is nearly a year from finalization and it remains subject to both regulatory and shareholder approval, we thought it might be fun to imagine what's going to happen to a few beloved EA studios and properties when it utterly fucking disintegrates. Is this cope? My childhood is 2025. Cope implies the existence of a consensus reality that can inspire despair. I long for the days of cope. DICE and Respawn's Star Wars titles will, of course, be acquired by Disney under Lucasfilm Games. This synthesis of skills and resources combined with a publisher buoyed by the critical and commercial success of Andor, thus convinced of the urgent necessity for narratives that are revolutionary and inspirational, will allow devs to produce games that will resonate for generations of jaded gamers at a critical cultural moment. And people will say, "Thank you, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman." Speaking of the Crown Prince, what better studio to come into stewardship of the House of Saud itself than Maxis? That's right, gamers. Foundational city builder SimCity will return with SimCity Neom, the line. No, not that, the other line. The Saudi government's planned linear city running 170 kilometers from the coast of the Red Sea at Neom, the project that has already reportedly killed 20,000 workers. Now you can build it in SimCity, and you can move your Sims there. And it'll also be an MMO. I don't know, probably. In fact, you'd be able to scroll seamlessly between a SimCity builder all the way down into the living dollhouse of The Sims. This is all at least as viable as Neom itself. But the crown jewel of acquisitions from the dissolution of Electronic Arts would undoubtedly be BioWare. The celebrated but battered Edmonton-based studio is a Canadian institution that stands alongside the Avro Arrow, Tim Hortons, and the Leafs. Prime Minister Mark Carney, we know you watch this show. Buy BioWare. Justin Trudeau bought Alberta a pipeline. Wouldn't you like to be just as beloved in Alberta as Justin Trudeau? We know that Mass Effect's Paragon Renegade morality system is confusing to a man who so flawlessly walks the centrist path, doing neither evil nor good, but consider, just buy BioWare. Seriously, you appointed Evan Solomon as Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation, so this would not nearly be the most embarrassing thing that you could do. What could unify Canada more than a Mass Effect DLC where an unvaxxed Ashley Williams gets a System Alliance cruiser impounded for joining the trucker convoy? What could be more in the tradition of Canadian public media than bilingual Bar Liliana reading us bedtime stories? Don't you want to be our favorite Prime Minister on the Citadel?
Capcom sucks.
We usually elaborate a little.
Fine. Capcom sucks, but this time the gaming community is paying for it in a new and unexciting way. The 12th Capcom Cup has been announced and takes place next March. The tournament has been held annually, except for lockdown, since 2013. Next year, for the first time, the finals will be presented as a pay-per-view. Sorry, kids, AI can't save you from the vibes inherent in the seasonal one-night-only transformation as the least interesting bar in your town turns into a sold-out exclusive event venue. The event in question? Watching TV, but special. No spectacle or live performance, just huddling around the same screen that's paid the cover charge for an MMA fight, or a wrestling card, or, I guess, the Street Fighter Finals. Surely nothing could better amplify the renown and glory of the Capcom Cup like picturing the Legion bar full of smoke and men in jackets older than the internet comparing notes on the Ring Girl. I don't know, maybe that is based. If you watch the Capcom Cup at some awesome gathering that wouldn't have happened if watching it was free, I hope to learn about that in March. But until then, this is just another nickel the fighting game community has been dimed. They've been in burnout since Aki was released and can only take so much chip damage. I might have watched and cared about the Capcom Cup if it was free, but now I certainly won't watch it. At least until the VOD is released for free a week later. Also, speaking of free VODs, every other esport has them. Has the esports industry been missing out for the past decade on the big, sick, winning tech play of pay-per-view? As much as I'll give credence to the idea that charging money for something that's typically free will probably gain you the attention of the Lucille Bluths of the world, on most of real Earth, this is too much money to pay for your special interest, and even most of your diehard fans will just sit out the live event and wait until a week later. Two-time Capcom Cup champion and Dominican Republic native Saul Leonard Mena II, or just Mena, tweeted, "I find it hard to accept. I understand that this is normal in Japan, and thankfully the community is still able to support each other in this way. But in many places, including my own, it's almost impossible to even afford to play this game, and no one should be denied the opportunity to enjoy Street Fighter at its peak. I think it's still too early." And yeah, it's really sad. But you know what is free? The way most people are going to watch it.
Microsoft is really going through it these days, and it couldn't happen to a more deserving all-consuming megacorp. First, a couple weeks ago, they raised the prices on Xbox consoles, but only in the US. They said this was due to changes in the macroeconomic environment, which is a hilarious and cowardly way to say our president is ruining the economy. But they're also saying it with big words, so he doesn't retaliate by sending the National Guard into Minecraft. Who the fuck knows? Anyway, it's bad. Because you may recall, they already raised the prices globally only as recently as May. So now, an Xbox Series X is $150 more in the US than it was at launch. While the Xbox Series X 2TB Galaxy Black, some would say the PS5 Pro of Xboxes, is a full $200 more than it was at launch, now sitting at $800 and more expensive than a PS5 Pro, often considered the Xbox Series X 2TB Galaxy Black of PlayStations. The PS5 Pro also saw a price increase of $50 recently, but not to be outdone, Microsoft have surpassed Sony again. And didn't stop there. Just this week, Microsoft announced price increases on Game Pass, along with rebranding two of the tiers. Core is now Essential and Standard is now Premium. And we presume this was done merely to obfuscate the comparisons, because there's seemingly no other reason for it. The costs are increasing by 50%. So the highest tier, which keeps its name of Game Pass Ultimate and is the one that lets you play new games on day one, is now $30 per month. But hey, they added a bunch of old Ubisoft games. You know, if you feel like playing Skull and Bones. The jump from $20 to $30 is enough to make some people just drop the subscription altogether, with many folks on the Game Pass subreddit saying they'll just go back to buying games. That is, of course, assuming the industry as a whole can survive the current macroeconomic environment, which it ain't looking hot.
What if we tow the economy outside the environment?
Is the economy in a bad way?
As far as I can tell, the front fell off.
Shame.
Coming up, now that Shirley Curry, aka the Skyrim Grandma, is 90 years old, she said it's time for her to retire. And it's not surprising she's tired of the game. She was a teenager the first time it came out.
GameStop posted... GameStop. They posted, Game Pass is still $20 in our house because you can buy physical, like, a month of Game Pass Ultimate for a $20 card in GameStop.
Okay.
And that still is a month of Game Pass.
Sure.
And the price just is, it's printed on the thing. It's just $20. And people are like, that's cool, but that's only until you sell out of those cards.
Right.
Like, you're not going to be able to get more from... This was GameStop's latest desperate attempt at relevancy.
I guess,
is really what this was. I mean, like, yeah, you can go buy a bunch, and they don't... The whole point is that they don't expire.
Okay.
So you could go to GameStop and buy a bunch of these $20 cards, and then hypothetically have cheaper Game Pass Ultimate for a while. But it seems like it would be easier to simply just not have Game Pass anymore.
I suppose. I mean, I guess if you're like, I really need this for some reason because I need to play 1,000 games, a year or something like that. God, that's so weird.
I know that this is a specific sample size, but looking at for some reason there's a subreddit for Game Pass. I don't know, but there's a lot of members too. It seems like an odd thing to have a subreddit for, but among the people who are on the Game Pass subreddit, which again, I grant you is a specific subset of Game Pass users.
Yes.
The general consensus is like, oh, well, no then.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people being like, I was okay with $20 a month. Like, I feel like I get enough value out of that. 30? Nah.
You only go on a subreddit for Game Pass if you're such a fan of it that you feel inspired to have conversations about it, right? Which is what we hope that you feel like going on the subreddits or going on our Discord or whatever. For us, it's like, because you want to have conversations that sometimes involve the stuff we make. Though a lot of you also spend a lot of time just talking to each other because it's fun. So maybe that's also what the people on r/Game Pass are doing. Is like, I just want to meet like-minded Game Pass users that are up for chatting about what's going on in the world today, or maybe some light extramarital fuckery or something like that. I don't know what people who play Game Pass are into. Maybe they cheat on their spouses. Surely they cheat on their spouses.
Surely.
Yeah, I'm just saying, statistically speaking, the people who play Game Pass, there are some of them who, are swingers maybe even too. Like, that could be a whole... How did I get on this topic, Graham?
I truthfully have no idea.
I see.
The Verge spoke to, this is me desperately trying to course correct, spoke to Dustin Blackwell, Director of Gaming and Platform Communications at Microsoft. This was just this morning, so I didn't have time to incorporate it into the story. But the quote, "We understand price increases are never fun for anybody. But we're trying to reinforce by adding more value to these plans as well. It's something we don't take lightly, and we're listening to the feedback of players in the community to try to provide them with more of what they're asking for."
Did you know that I got an email from Adobe saying, "We are committed to adding value to your Creative Cloud subscription"? And they said, "So we're changing the name of your plan from Creative Cloud All Apps to Creative Cloud Pro."
And increasing the price.
And we're increasing the price.
Yeah.
We're committed to adding value. I'm like, you certainly are adding value.
The value, by the way, is they're like, we've added the most games in one day that we've ever added to Game Pass. And it's like, yeah, and they're all old or bad Ubisoft games.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. Or Fortnite Crew, which is, I'm actually a little unclear on the distinction of Fortnite Crew.
Okay.
Fortnite.
I don't even know what that means.
I don't know either, because I'm an adult.
Yeah, it's fair.
You may have been able to suss out that Nelson wrote the Street Fighter story and Cameron wrote the EA story.
Yes.
And we have an opportunity to bust out our EA mug again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice to really give it a good showing on the thing. I hope everybody noticed my magic trick.
That was good.
Yeah. My shirt changed color and you probably didn't notice.
Except that you specifically drew attention to the shirt in the story.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Probably they noticed.
Well, it's like magic tricks for 6-year-olds, I guess.
Yeah. This was presented somewhat jokingly in the EA story about when this utterly fucking disintegrates.
Yeah.
But it's like a $20 billion leveraged buy. I don't even know how that... I don't know how that's legal. I don't understand how this works.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, okay, we'll buy it for $50 billion. Well, you only have 30. Yeah. We're going to get the other 20 by the company that we're buying is going to take out a loan for the $20 billion.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you buy it, it's going to have $20 billion in debt
That's
on
correct.
it already.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then who gets that $20 billion that was taken out in a loan? It's like, yes. I have to assume, because the thing that I read was that the plan states that investors would make $210 per share, which is more than what EA is trading at. And I'm like, that's probably where most of that $20 billion is going.
Yeah.
Is into padding the value of the shares, because in order to do a buyout, right, you need to have the investors, the shareholders need to say, we're okay to sign on to this. I'm like, well, the easiest way to do that is to bribe them. Is to say, why don't we just make your shares be an astronomical price?
Mm-hmm.
Then you'll absolutely be like, oh, fuck yeah, I'll do this.
Yeah.
And then sell all your shares immediately and right away.
So that takes care of the shareholders, but what about the regulatory approval? Oh, what's that? One of the main featured people who's also buying it is
son-in-law?
Trump's son-in-law?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go.
Yeah, exactly.
So rip EA, it's been a real one, but like there's no way they recover from this.
And every other example of the most major merger recently, that was a fun one to say, with Microsoft and Activision Blizzard. And it's like the UK tried to say, hey, wait a second, we don't feel good about this. And then something happened. We're like, actually, we changed our mind. And who knows why? And we have conversations about that. We're not going to have conversations about that. No. But it's like the regulatory environment right now is to not say, oh, we need to put a stop to this. No. It's to say that as long as there's value to be extracted from a company that we can wring out to make sure that they don't make anything, they can't afford to make anything ever again, but we can take all their money and make ourselves richer and richer. Why would we stand in the way of that? Because that's government now, baby.
So yeah, it's been a slice making fun of EA, but luckily there will be other people to make fun of. Again, this won't happen for at least a year.
Yeah,
but it will happen. By the way, that story had a lot of like stuff that's funnier if you know the Canadian parts of it. Mm-hmm. Trudeau is not loved in Alberta.
No,
that was among the jokes.
Yeah,
good job, Cameron. But that's, I think, it for CheckPoint for this week. If you want to support us directly, we're not getting a leverage buyout.
Yeah.
You can just go to the Patreon, patreon.com/loadingreadyrun, or become a member on this YouTube channel. We really appreciate it. Help us not have to pursue a leverage buyout. I don't even know if you can do that in Canada. I don't know how I would begin to pursue that.
I just don't want to end up like the Leafs. Bye. It's Sonic's 30th anniversary, and what better, warmer, what?
What?
I said a what?
Slow it down a little bit.
Yeah. If it'll help, I can do this for you.
That's definitely helpful. Thank you.
They'll be resplendent.